You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to walk the path of the ordinary. From the moment you took your first breath, the forces of this world knew you are different. The system isn't built for you because you were never meant to be contained by it. The obstacles you faced weren't coincidences. They were orchestrated attempts to suppress what they fear most, your awakening. They tried to keep you in the dark, to distort your vision, to block the messages that were meant to reach you. But they underestimated you. You are chosen. You are unstoppable. They thought they could silence you by intercepting your messages, by cutting off your access, by limiting your reach. But they forgot one thing. Your power is not bound by earthly means. No force, no interference, no closed door can stop the fire inside you. Every attempt to hold you back has only sharpened your resolve. Every setback has only fueled your rise. The very tactics they use to suppress you only expose their deepest fear. They know you hold the key to something greater. You were born for this moment. The world is shifting, and history is waiting for those bold enough to step into their purpose. This is your time. What they feared is already happening. They tried to block you, but you're still here. They tried to break you, but you're stronger than ever. Now, it's time to step fully into the power you were always meant to carry. Their frantic actions expose the cracks in their illusion of control. Their fear is not of what they see, but of what they cannot contain, the undeniable force that your presence alone carries. Every disruption, every interference is not random. It is a desperate attempt to weaken a power they know is far beyond their reach. They manipulate, distort, and attempt to silence, not because they are in control, but because they are losing it. Their efforts are not about messages, objects, or delays. They are about obstructing a path that was never theirs to block. They seek to intercept not just opportunities, but the unfolding of something they can neither predict nor prevent. Yet, in their haste to hinder, they only expose their own limitations. Every diversion, every tampered connection is an unspoken admission of their fear of those destined for something greater. They cannot grasp what is meant for you, and so they attempt to disrupt it. But even in their sabotage, they confess their own defeat, revealing that no interference can stand against the inevitable force of purpose. Meddling in earthly affairs does nothing to alter the course of the inevitable. They can try to erase, obscure, or delay, but they cannot erase the momentum of what has already been set in motion. The more they resist, the clearer their weakness becomes. They act not from a place of dominance, but from sheer terror at what they cannot control. Their shadows shrink in the presence of undeniable light. Their efforts crumble beneath the weight of unshaken destiny. They don't act out of strength. They lash out because they know they are already outmatched. Every attempt to obstruct only serves as proof of the impact you are meant to make. Their resistance is not a barrier. It is a signpost marking the path you are meant to walk. They don't fear your words. They fear the echoes they create. They don't fear your progress. They fear the ripple effect of your existence. They fight against what they cannot stop, exposing the depths of their desperation with each failed scheme. And in the end, their interference does not halt the inevitable. It merely reinforces the unstoppable momentum of what is to come. The signs of resistance are never random. A missed opportunity, a delayed response, an interrupted plan. These are not setbacks, but markers of the weight you carry. The barriers placed in your path are not coincidences. They are the desperate attempts of a crumbling system to contain what it was never meant to control. The interference is not about stolen messages or blocked routes. It is about the panic of those who recognize a power they cannot manipulate. Their schemes are not evidence of their strength, but of their helplessness against what has already been set into motion. Let them scramble. Let them scheme. Their every attempt to hinder only refines the resolve forged within. The battle is not fought in their shadows, but in the unwavering momentum that no disruption can halt. The moment they tried to alter the course, they set off a chain of events beyond their understanding. The shift had already begun, and their interference only accelerated it. There is no force that can rewrite what is already destined. Their tampering was not a disruption, it was a trigger that summoned a force far beyond their reach. They thought their actions would erase, obstruct, or diminish, but instead, they exposed their own limitations. The moment they reached where they had no authority, they sealed their own undoing. No barrier they build can contain what does not belong to them. No strategy can outmaneuver the force that defends what is untouchable. The very efforts they put into sabotage became the evidence of their fear, the proof that they recognized a movement they could not control. They miscalculated the scale of what they opposed, assuming that manipulation could override what has already been decreed. But every attempt to divert only sharpened the course, making it even clearer, even stronger, until it became undeniable. The ground beneath them shifted the moment they acted, and now they are left to face the magnitude of the force they sought to restrain. What they set in motion did not just fail, it reversed, unleashing something far greater than they could have imagined. Their attempts to block became the very steps that propelled the inevitable forward. The moment they reached for what was never theirs, they activated a force that turned every obstacle into a tool for elevation. They did not anticipate the ripple effect of their interference. They thought they were stopping something, yet in reality, they were only ensuring its acceleration. The weight of their own schemes became too heavy to carry, and the very walls they built turned against them. No act of resistance goes unnoticed. No attempt to sabotage remains unaddressed. Every move they made to hinder became a catalyst for greater momentum. The harder they tried to restrain, the more tangled they became in the chaos of their own making. What was meant to silence only amplified. What was meant to delay only accelerated. Their greatest mistake was assuming they had control, and now they stand in the aftermath of their own undoing, watching as the very thing they feared moves forward, unchallenged and unstoppable. Their struggle to contain what was never theirs to control is a silent admission of defeat. The roadblocks, the disruptions, the sudden interference, these are not random obstacles, but signs of their growing fear. They do not act from a place of power. Their movements are frantic, a desperate attempt to halt the inevitable. They know they cannot match what they do not understand. Every attempt to obstruct is proof that they recognize something greater is unfolding, something beyond their reach. They hover, they interfere, they manipulate, not because they have dominion, but because they have lost it. Their obsession reveals their weakness, their meddling exposes their limitations. They seek to hinder what was always meant to rise, but in doing so, they only illuminate their own powerlessness. They cannot rewrite what was authored beyond their comprehension. Their struggle is not against you, it is against the truth they refuse to accept. Their resistance is an echo of their failure, a reflection of a reality that does not bend to their will. Every move they make to oppose only strengthens what they sought to dismantle. They assumed they could contain the storm, but they failed to realize they stood in its path. The moment they tampered with what they had no claim to, the balance shifted. They did not just touch what was forbidden, they triggered the force that would undo them. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Galatians 6:7. When a seed is planted, it does not immediately bear fruit. But in time, the harvest comes, and what was sown in secret is revealed in full. Some plant truth, others plant deception, thinking they can manipulate the soil, rearrange the seasons, and delay the inevitable. But divine justice does not run on their timeline. It moves when it is meant to, arriving with a force they never saw coming. They played a dangerous game, thinking they could bend the rules, tamper with what was never theirs, intercept what was divinely assigned. But when you reach for something beyond your grasp, when you touch what was never meant for your hands, you don't just disrupt the plan, you trigger something far greater than yourself. The moment they interfered, the storm began to gather. The weight of their actions took shape, pressing down, shifting, moving. What they thought was a minor disruption became a spiritual tidal wave, an unstoppable force returning to its rightful place. They thought they had time, thought they had control, thought they had maneuvered in secrecy. But what is done in darkness does not stay in darkness. They were warned. The signs were all around them, yet they pressed forward, blinded by their own arrogance. They mistook patience for permission, silence for approval. But divine justice is never idle. It waits, it watches, it moves in perfect timing. And when it strikes, it does not hesitate. The response was swift, inevitable, and far beyond their understanding. Their hands, once steady in deception, became the very instruments of their own collapse. The foundation they stood on began to crack beneath them, but they were too proud to notice. They assumed they moved unseen, that their interference would dissolve into the shadows. But the very shadows they trusted turned against them. The forces they thought they controlled slipped through their fingers like sand, leaving them scrambling, desperate, drowning in the weight of their own undoing. They tampered with something they were never meant to hold, and in doing so, they shattered the fragile illusion of control they had built. They thought they had silenced the call, but all they did was amplify it. They believed they had stopped the momentum, but instead, they fueled it. Their interference did not weaken the chosen ones, it revealed them. And now, what was set in motion cannot be undone. You see, when you are chosen, your steps are not guided by human hands. No interception, no deception, no closed door can override what has already been set in place. The weight of destiny does not shift under the pressure of opposition. It rises, it expands, it overtakes. What was meant for harm turns to favor. What was stolen returns sevenfold. What was blocked finds another way. And as for them, their downfall was not an accident. It was a certainty. The flood they tried to contain burst through every dam. The very tools they used for sabotage turned against them. The same pit they dug now swallows them whole. Their attempts to stop you only confirmed one thing: you cannot be stopped. The impact of their actions did not dissolve. It rebounded, multiplying in magnitude. They did not slow the momentum. They fueled it, ensuring its acceleration. Their barriers collapsed under their own weight, their plans consumed by the very energy they unleashed. The more they tried to interfere, the deeper they sank into the consequences of their own making. They thought they were halting a course, yet they were merely setting the stage for something greater. They mistook their influence for control, never realizing they were only playing a role in something far beyond them. Every move they made to disrupt only ensured that the force they feared grew stronger, unyielding, unstoppable. They believed they were erasing a future, yet all they did was solidify its arrival. The echoes of their interference did not silence. They amplified, resounding in ways they never anticipated. Their own steps became their chains, their schemes the very fire that reduced their illusions to ash. And as they stood amidst the ruins of their own making, the truth became undeniable. They had never been in control to begin with. They moved in secrecy, believing their interference would remain unseen. But the moment they reached beyond their limits, they unleashed a force they cannot outrun. What they sought to obstruct has gained unstoppable momentum, sweeping away their illusions of control. The weight of justice never wavers, and those who tamper with what is beyond them are left to face the fire they ignited. Their misplaced confidence became their undoing, and the paths they once walked with ease are now riddled with barriers they can't navigate. Exposure is the first reckoning. What was whispered in the dark is now shouted for all to hear. The truths they buried rise from the depths, and every misstep, every deception, every covert hand leaves behind an unerasable trace. They sought silence, but instead, they are met with resounding echoes of their own actions. Consequences arrive swiftly, not only in the realm of men, but in the currents that shape destiny itself. What they tried to claim has shackled them. What they stole has sealed their downfall. The weight of their choices presses down, stripping them of the illusions they once relied upon. Every misdeed they unleashed now coils back, constricting tighter with each failed escape. They thought they could manipulate fate, but instead, they find themselves bound by the very forces they sought to defy. The foundation they stood upon cracks beneath them, and the security they once relied on turns to dust in their grasp. Whoever digs a pit will fall into it. If someone rolls a stone, it will roll back on them. Proverbs 26:27. There's an old saying, "Don't push a boulder down the hill unless you're ready to outrun it." But pride makes people foolish. They set traps, thinking they were untouchable. They stacked obstacles in your path, convinced you would never rise. But what they failed to understand is the law of return. What you send out, you will receive. They laughed as they laid the bricks of resistance, believing themselves to be architects of another's downfall. But they forgot one thing. God does not play dice. He measures, he weighs, he balances. And when the weight of deception reaches its limit, the scale tips and justice moves. They thought they were in control. They envisioned a future where every path bent to their will, where they dictated the outcome, where they sat in the seat of power. But the throne they built was never theirs to sit on. The ground beneath them has shifted. The very walls they erected to block others now close in on them. The bridges they burned were the only way forward. And now they stand at the edge, looking down into the pit they spent years digging, only to realize there is no way back up. No act goes unnoticed. No scheme disappears without consequence. The energy they sent out, the traps they set, the doors they slammed shut, all of it has found its way home. They are now the ones facing the resistance, the unanswered calls, the setbacks that seem to come from nowhere. But it isn't nowhere. It's the very system of justice they tried to outmaneuver. They tampered with what they didn't understand. They pushed against forces that do not yield. They mistook patience for passivity, silence for submission. But God does not sleep. And now, as they struggle to move forward, as every door they once walked through effortlessly is now locked from the inside. As the things they took for granted crumble in their hands, they are coming to terms with a truth they can no longer deny. The very blessings they tried to block have reached their rightful place untouched. The promotions they sabotaged, given to the very ones they tried to hold back. The opportunities they stole, multiplied in the hands of the deserving. They sought to rewrite a destiny that was never theirs to alter. And now, the ink has run dry, the pen is broken, and the story continues without them. And now, standing amidst the wreckage of their own miscalculation, they see the full picture. The chosen ones they sought to silence. They are still rising. The paths they tried to block, still clear. The movement they sought to suppress, now unstoppable. Nothing they did changed the outcome, except for themselves. Because the weight of divine justice is like a flood. It does not stop until every valley is filled, every mountain is leveled, and every hidden deed is brought to light. So let them watch, let them stumble, let them stand in the middle of what they created, looking for a way out that no longer exists. Because while their road is now blocked, the path ahead for those chosen remains untouched, unshaken, and unstoppable. History has always warned of the downfall of those who attempt to defy forces beyond their control. Rulers have stood before the tide of destiny, believing their dominion was unshakable, only to be met with consequences they never foresaw. One such leader sought to tighten his grip on a people meant to walk free. His authority, built on fear, blinded him to the inevitable. The signs were clear, the warnings undeniable, yet he clung to the illusion of control. But the very elements he thought served him turned against him. The rivers no longer flowed in his favor. The land rebelled beneath his feet, and the heavens darkened as a final omen of his defeat. Each act of defiance against what had already been declared brought a greater reckoning. And in his final moment of arrogance, as he chased what was never his to claim, the very path that had parted for others closed upon him. His downfall was not mere misfortune. It was the weight of justice restoring balance. The lesson echoes through time. Resistance against the inevitable does not delay fate. It ensures destruction. Those who seek to manipulate what is beyond their reach soon learn that interference is a battle they cannot win. No scheme, no obstruction, no force can silence what has already been set in motion. The unseen moves with precision, delivering messages through forces beyond human grasp. The air carries whispers that no barrier can contain, and the ground trembles as a testament to what is unfolding. Attempts to halt divine instruction do nothing but accelerate its fulfillment. There was one who believed he could outrun his calling, seeking refuge where he thought no eyes could follow. But even the depths of the ocean were no escape. He was pulled back into alignment, not by human hands, but by the very forces he sought to flee. And another, locked in confinement, watched as the words he was meant to share traveled further than his captors ever intended. They chained his body, but could not shackle his purpose. The more they tried to suppress, the louder the truth became, proving that no resistance can stand against what has already been decreed. Attempts to divert what is destined only serve as confirmation of its power. They may erase words, reroute paths, or build barriers, but purpose does not yield to obstruction. The louder the opposition, the greater the significance of the mission they seek to block. Every interference is not a loss, it is evidence of impact. The ones who plot against you are simply validating what they refuse to accept. Their efforts cannot override what has already been sealed. And in the quiet, in the moments where they believe they have won, something greater stirs. Alignment is not found in chaos, but in stillness, where clarity is sharpened and interference loses its hold. Power is reclaimed not through retaliation, but through mastery of self, where external forces hold no sway. Battles are not won by volume, but by the unwavering certainty of truth. They may attempt to alter the course, but what is meant to be will always find its way, untouched, unshaken, and unstoppable. Spiritual alignment is not a request, it is a command. When you speak with intention, you do not plead, you initiate movement in realms unseen. Your words do not linger in the air, they carve through barriers, severing anything attempting to stand in the way. Each affirmation strengthens the walls around what is destined for you, shielding it from intrusion. This is not about wishful thinking. It is about invoking forces already prepared to act on your behalf. Every declaration fortifies the path ahead, ensuring no interference can take root. Cleansing is more than a practice. It is an act of reclaiming dominion. You do not remove negativity to simply feel at ease. You dismantle unseen chains, dissolving any hindrance placed in your way. Energy clearing is a strategic reset, a purification of the space around you, stripping away all that was meant to cloud your vision. Through meditation, you sharpen your focus. Through ritual, you assert control. Through spiritual discipline, you ensure nothing foreign lingers in your sphere. Every action taken is a declaration of power, securing your momentum and making it clear. Nothing they send can hold you back. Precision in your movements ensures that nothing catches you off guard. Those who seek to obstruct do not act in the open. They move subtly, hoping their interference goes unnoticed. Awareness is your greatest shield, recognizing patterns, disruptions, and inconsistencies before they can take form. No action is random. No delay is without reason. The moment you sharpen your perception, their advantage crumbles. Every overlooked detail, every message tampered with, every trace of intrusion is a confirmation of what they fear. Protection is not paranoia, it is strategy. Reinforce your systems, secure your channels, eliminate their access points. When they cannot reach you, they cannot weaken you. The barriers you build are not just walls, they are a statement. Denying them control, removing their footholds, forcing them to confront their own powerlessness. Their desperation fuels their persistence, but their persistence only confirms what they refuse to accept. Nothing they do can shift what has already been placed in motion. Each safeguard you set strengthens the flow of what is coming to you. Every act of vigilance is another step in ensuring that what is meant for you arrives untouched. Their resistance is not proof of your vulnerability. It is proof of your magnitude. Let their actions remind you. Their interference is not an obstacle. It is evidence that your ascent cannot be stopped. The course set before you cannot be altered. Attempts to interfere, disrupt, or delay do not shift the inevitable. They only confirm its power. The forces that guide your path are beyond human grasp, moving with precision that no hand can restrain. Let them watch, let them strategize, let them attempt to divert what is already in motion. It changes nothing. The momentum behind you does not waver. The messages sent to you arrive unshaken, carried by forces unseen, beyond interception. Every effort to hinder only serves as proof of their fear, a silent acknowledgement of what they cannot contain. The greater the opposition, the clearer the confirmation. Resistance is not a barrier, it is evidence of magnitude. What belongs to you cannot be misdirected, cannot be stolen, cannot be altered. No strategy, no interference, no scheme can override what has already been set in place. The unfolding of your purpose is untouched by external hands, and no delay can sever the connection between you and what is yours. Their struggle to control is futile, for the timing of destiny does not bend to human will. What has been decreed will find its way, unstoppable, undeniable, unwavering. Now is the moment to bring forth the evidence. Speak of the moments when obstacles turned into stepping stones, when every closed door led to something greater, when no interference could suppress the unfolding of what was meant for you. These are not just stories, they are confirmations, declarations of an order that cannot be rewritten. Share the proof, not just for yourself, but as a reminder that no force stands against what is meant to rise. Let each experience be a testament, an unshaken statement of the forces that move in alignment with your path. Their attempts could not halt it, their efforts did not diminish it, and their opposition only illuminated the magnitude of what stands behind you. Let the truth resonate. What is yours has already been secured, and nothing in existence can unwrite it.